Good morning. This is Thomas from thomasyoungauthor.com. Today is August 14th. It's 7:15 a.m. It's early morning, and I'm recording this video. I was not sure what I want to talk about, today. In the past couple of days, I talked to you a bit more about, these all those pigs and the piggies that I had to deal with, in the past 10 years, and that they're basically everywhere. At some point, when I started complaining to, I don't know, mental health professionals about, the stalking and the intimidation I had to endure, then they made a suggestion, yeah, why don't you move away? Yeah, well, if you move away, these people are everywhere. The the organized crime network called the gay community is everywhere now. So everywhere you go, everywhere I will go, I will be detected. So it does not really matter where I live. Today I want to discuss with you. A couple of months ago, I was looking for some academic papers just on the issue of the gay identity, because I was started to write my essay project. And when I use for academic papers, I usually use JSTOR. This is what I prefer to use, and a lot of stuff on there is now open source, so people can just download. And I want to discuss today two papers with you that are telling. I mean, most of these papers I'm discussing comes out of the social sciences and the field of psychology, and I want to talk about how the dominant ideas about homosexuality and especially the gay identity are now have now an academic zeal. So in order to make it truthful, I mean, in the culture one lives today, academic or scientific knowledge, so-called scientific knowledge, is seen as the highest form of truth. In one of these papers deals with the problem I'm dealing, called gang stalking, and many other friends of mine and people I knew had to deal with. But in that paper, I will try and link it later, they use the term ostracism. So this academic paper acknowledges that there is ostracism going on in the gay community. So that's basically people have to be removed from what they perceive the community. And the explanation they give for that is, of course, if the gays wouldn't have to live in a homophobic society, they would not have to do it. That is the conclusion of that academic paper. And you see that a lot in these academic papers. The gay identity rests on the idea that they live in a society that is homophobic through and through. And if it weren't for homophobia, every homosexual person would automatically adopt the gay identity. This is academics talking. So the gay identity as it is today, centered around, having sex, being in a way anti-religious. The belief system of gays is basically the following. Every article of faith, the Christians have, we believe the opposite. In many ways, you can also see the identity and the ideology, the pseudo-religion that surrounds the gay identity, is basically a form of moral regression. What they want is basically they want to go back in many ways to the morality of antiquity. So the morality before Christianity, that is basically what the gays believe in, and that is of course a world, you know, of violence and hierarchy and a sort of a patriarchal world dominated by men. This is what many gays in the end believe in, and that is also supported by the academic world. There is a disdain for Christian values. I mean, they believe that you know, Christians are after them and stuff like that. And there's another academic paper that I want to discuss, and that was about there was a psychologist who basically wanted to propose, and there is now a sort of three-phase model for homosexuals to adopt the gay identity, or the identity formation process up until now in the field of psychology it has 3 stages, and she proposes 5 stages. I don't know, it's not even that important. But again, there is the assumption that if it weren't for homophobia, homosexuals would automatically adopt the gay identity. So every homosexual should automatically that identity should come natural to any homosexual if it weren't for homophobia and Christian morality. And then in that paper you can see that the woman writing that paper, she has the problem, yeah, but the same problem I have, how do you define the gay community? Who is the gay community? And then so in order she did a little, in order to come up with some findings, she had to do, you know, statistics. So she had to do some surveys, and then she had the problem, yeah, but where do I find the gay community? How do I take the survey? What people do I need to ask? Is it every homosexual? No. So what she basically did, in order to take those surveys for statistical analysis, she went to an STD clinic. She went to, you know, like an HIV doctor, because, you know, people who adopt the gay identity are all sexually promiscuous and have HIV and a lot of STDs. She went to the Gay and Lesbian Association, and she went to some other place. You see, but that is not the collective of all homosexuals. That is basically just, you know, the people who live a promiscuous lifestyle and often identify as gay. So it is not that she is looking in the wrong places, but from there she assumes that all these people who constantly have STDs and have HIV and go to the Gay and Lesbian Association, that these represent the collective of all homosexuals. And that is not the case. And she's aware of that problem. And then I think in the second to last paragraph of her paper, she discusses this, and she basically says, yeah, well, fuck it, I don't know any other way to find a gay identity. But here also lies the assumption that these people basically define what a gay identity is, the people that live the promiscuous lifestyle, and that there is some truth to that. The culture, gay culture, is heavily informed by these people, and every homosexual has to relate to that culture. But you see, the problem is that culture has become really, you know, almost repressive and is highly criminal. Because when I was a teenager and I went to the Gay and Lesbian Association, okay, there were bad people there, but the people that were running it were all academics. And I think their objective was to take what they used to call the gay community in the narrow sense, you know, the people, you know, owning gay bars and owning, you know, bathhouses, owning even the people at the Gay and Lesbian Association, that the gay community needs to be emancipated from that world of prostitution and organized crime. And I think in many respects they failed, and it has in many ways gotten worse because you know, when I oftentimes when I look up things, you know, you hear a lot of gay bars are closing, you know, and then they say, yeah, it's because of you know, the dating apps and everything. But you know, but I doubt that. You know, nobody goes to gay bars anymore because these have become really grim places. Like, I mean, I can remember a time when it was a relaxed, you could go there and it was relaxed and it was crowded, and but that is no longer the case. It has, that world has become much darker, and I find it horrifying that, you know, even academics basically um, reinforce and, or you say, yeah, reinforce all the ideas that come out of that world and say, now this is the truth. You know, every homosexual ought to adopt their gay identity, and that should come natural to every homosexual. I mean, I find it really disturbing. And I mean, I've been, you know, in universities a lot, and I'm really shocked to find how many stupid people there are there now. I mean, there is an inflation of academic titles and an inflation of diplomas, and you could see that with that Xavier guy. He also, I talked about yesterday, he also managed, a stupid guy like him also managed to get a master's degree. I mean, this is unbelievable, and this is what you get. You know, this is sort of the stupidification of you know, of academic research. Even, I mean, okay, I will, you know, try and link those if I can find them. I will try and link those papers, and you watch for yourself. Okay, thanks for listening. Have a nice day. Bye bye.